People, hey, that was dead. Let me do that again. That was tired, people. People, deluded. I'm back again. Monday energies required. Now, big up you lot for tuning in again. Do me a favor, smash the like button. Big up you lot on Twitch. Doesn't seem to be a dull day where Arsenal are concerned, which it means we have talking points. Allegedly, Gaspar is about to leave Arsenal Football Club. We did see those rumors in the summer. It probably seems like there's an element of truth and there's a potential reshuffling. Now, again, I actually haven't read any of the articles and all of that jazz, but we'll read it, get into the thick of it. Ironically, Mikel Arteta is probably going to be asked a bunch of questions tomorrow about Arsenal season, probably again about Newcastle, Chelsea. Obviously, you know, we've got Inter Milan on Wednesday, and he's going to be asked about Edu, people. Now, again, I always think about career progression. I'd have to imagine maybe it's family reasons. Again, I haven't read it, but maybe there's an element of family reasons as to why Edu wants to depart. Maybe it's career progression. He wants a higher ranking position than he's in. Maybe he feels like his work is done. Now, I know a lot of you have an opinion on Edu, and I'd love to know them. And what I would say, I have an opinion as well. I personally think Arsenal have had a bit of a unique position, I think would be the right word, Arsenal fans, in the sense of you've got I don't want to keep running this, but realistically, you had a young team. You had Jack Wilshere, who's left as well, doing the under-18s thing, not been exposed to management. Mertesacker in the first kind of role he's faced in the academy. Obviously, Mikel Arteta as a, you know, novice manager of sorts, not really anymore. And Edu, now, a bit disrespectful to Edu because he did have a role in the Brazilian FA, right? But me as an ignorant fan that's not privy to knowing what Edu has tried to do or not to do, very rarely do you see everybody kind of growing on their job. And obviously, you've got Tim Lewis, you've got all of these people around, but you've got a young manager, a young technical director. You kind of want an experienced manager and a experienced manager, and well, you would love an experienced manager and an experienced technical director, or you would like a novice manager and an experienced technical director, or any denomination of the two. Now, I will say in Edu's defense, you know, I'm not a fan of ripping up contracts and all of this, but I do think you kind of you could say he wasted resources elsewhere, but I did think he kind of, to be fair, I think he cleared up a lot of the mess from the previous regimes. I think, you know, I have to praise him. I know Mikel Arteta, you lot are not necessarily happy with him, but he's the driving force with Mikel Arteta bringing in, with Arteta being brought in. I think this summer, in terms of outgoings, it was kind of what I wanted to see for a while. It's hardly anything perfect, but you look at the Smith Rowe deal, you look at Eddie Nketiah the year before that, you look at Balogun. Where I'm disappointed with Edu, and again, it's one where I can judge, you know, I can't see what Mikel Arteta is doing, you know, week in, week out training. But if we win, lose, or however we play, same with the players, we can critique. I don't know what Edu has tried to do and not to do. Now, on one hand, I do think, you know, Edu could do better. You know, you was working in the Brazilian FA, you didn't really bring nothing, not really brought through any blockbuster signings. And you know, you've got deals over the line, but even the players I praised for us signing at the club, it weren't, and I'm being harsh, but it weren't like they were too different. I can't say it because I've never been in it, but it weren't too difficult to sign the Declan Rice, 100 million. Arteta's gassed him, make it happen. I haven't really seen Edu pull any rabbits out the hat. Big him up for the contracts as well, the Salibas, the Sakas, all of that, but haven't seen him pull a rabbit out the hat and find some emerging talents. Ultimately, we spent last summer, we brought in some good additions, but ultimately the squad isn't stronger. And indirectly, that goes to Arteta, because nobody's going to leave this club or sign for this club if Arteta doesn't want them or whatever. But don't feel we did what we needed to do in the market, scrambling around, bearing in mind, you know, the last 2 years we fought for a league title, scrambling around. Cool, you didn't get Sesko. Don't know if you tried for Gyökeres and all that, but you didn't get striker, didn't get Nico Williams or any of them guys. Scrambling around on deadline day, you know, after making a mess of even the goalkeeping situation. You got Neto on loan. You've obviously got you know, Raheem Sterling, which bit shocked he didn't come off the bench. Now, the one thing would be is, if this is coming out now, again, we're going to read the article, but I don't know when Edu is actually going to leave the club. I don't know if it's immediate or if it's going to happen right now, but there has to be a succession plan. While it's come out now, Edu must have made his feelings kind of clear. And I'm obviously keen to see who takes the job, because for me, get me an experienced technical director, if I'm honest with you. Get me a Monkey or, you know, left field choice. I wouldn't mind Ralph Rangnick in that role. Now, too many chefs spoil the pot, and it'll be keen to see. I'll be keen to see how Mikel Arteta and Edu work with whoever comes into that role, purely because Arteta has signed a new deal. Apparently, you know, there are some rumors Arteta is not happy and all of this jazz. It's football. Managers, players, everybody leaves. So yeah, I know some of you would be happy if we can get a more experienced man. Let's do something, because I know people will sit there, and I won't quite say people are onto the Cronkies as much as they used to, but people say the Cronkies, etc. Let's be honest. The last 3 years, anything Arsenal have done, good and bad, has been because of Edu and indirectly Mikel Arteta. We've had money to spend, and we've ultimately not spent it at times because we haven't found the target, in which I'm being harsh, but Edu and your scouting and coaching stuff, you need to be able to find players, because I'm not a fan of what we used to do, is buying players for the sake of it. But we're hardly a prime Real Madrid, Barcelona, Manchester City, where there isn't a lot of players that could improve us, right? So it'd be quite interesting to see what is being made of this and what's going to happen beyond this, people. So yeah, it's never boring where Arsenal are concerned, man. What do you lot think of it, man? If I'm honest with you, again, let me know your thoughts. Again, I haven't read anything. I promise you, we're gonna go over all of that. DG, I swear, this Semenya guy from Bournemouth is better than Martinelli. His height, his strength, his passing, his dribbling, his shooting on the left, since he has Premier League experience, would be good. Wouldn't be against Semenya. I know you can be a bit snooty and say, "Oh man, the man's at Bournemouth" and all of that, but you just never know. And there might be an element of truth in him, because it seems like we're linked. And again, I'm not saying Edu's got a rabbit up his sleeve, but the vast majority of the signings you're going to see happen in January or the summer, these are the months that sporting directors and all these people are starting to talk to people. So I wonder what that means for Arsenal's targets going forward. I wonder what that means for, obviously, was we a sentence away from signing a new player, and because Edu's leaving, we're going to kind of flip the regime? I'm not sure. And also, like, what is Edu's gardening leave? How long is he going to be there? I'm not too upset to see him go, but it's important we replace him with someone elite / competent. I'm here for that, man, because again, being devil's advocate, I think Kai Havertz has been a great player for us, and exceeded expectations. But did you need to make that 65 million? Did you spend maybe too much, considering how Kai Havertz was regarded when we signed him? And you look at half the others, there's been a lot of turnover. Now, signings go wrong and whatnot, but I want to see us address areas and address them quickly. Like, again, I would love 50 million players, like all world class, but you could see, you get a striker, you get a winger, you sell who needs to be sold on, and we can move forward really and really make that jump. And I said it in the summer, and I believe, I don't want to exaggerate too much based on these 10 games, people, but it genuinely feels like after the last 2 years going into this year, right? It's like we're at this house now, we're here. For me, and I would love to win every trophy possible, but it feels like you either jump up and go up there, or there's a bit of regression. And I think right now there's a bit of regression. But at the same time, I have to be fair to Edu. I do think your hands are kind of sealed, in the sense of, you might be saying don't get Kai Havertz, for example. Mikel Arteta is saying get him. We all know, well, we don't, because we ain't spoke to them, but we all know Kroenke's up there. You've got Edu and Mikel Arteta here. In theory, Edu's actually above Arteta, but we all know it's like it's like a spoiled kid, in it. It's like two siblings. You go to the Kroenkes, who would be the parents. Arteta says he wants this. Edu might be going, oh, is that the best way to utilize funds? And Edu's been overruled. So at the same time, if you have your own opinion, you've been overruled and you're just doing your job, I can't really get onto you. Again, big up the Twitch gang. Make sure you're running up the likes, people. Again, we're finally getting a bit of motion again where YouTube's concerned, people. I'm happy he's coming for us. Door on tour. Big up you, man. Make sure you're following his content. Now, again, big up Edu. I don't know what role he's gonna have at Forest. I think you lot's like owner, the Greek guy, I think he's got a couple clubs, so maybe Edu's giving him he's giving Edu a position where, yeah, you're gonna work at Forest and you're gonna work at all the brother and sister clubs. I don't know, but wish the guy the best. Arteta made a miracle happen with the players he was given. Really? In the last 2-3 years, including now, really? Maybe when he first came and we won the FA Cup, and there was a time where you could see what Mikel Arteta was doing. We just didn't have the players good enough. Really? Can we really say that? Can we really say that in the last 2-3 years? Really? Gabriel, again, we all know the factors. Thomas Partey, Gabriel Jesus, Zinchenko, who else is there? A bunch of them. Really and truly, is it really a miracle? Being devil's advocate, big up yourself, K. Big up DG. I think Arteta has so much trust and backing from the owners, and maybe educators feel Arteta has too much power and wants to step. I'm not sure if he wants too much power, because I know if Mikel Arteta leaves, obviously, if you show you're a great manager, you're going to get more authority. But let's not beat around the bush. There's been times where Arteta could have been sacked, should have been sacked, would have been sacked, had it have been at other clubs. And for him, as I hate to refer to him as this, but as a novice manager, you've got a lot of power and responsibility. I don't know if you're going to get that elsewhere. What I would say is, while you don't really want your manager undermined, you don't want to be in a position, for me, with a sporting director where the guy signing players that the guy does that the manager doesn't like. I think Mikel Arteta needs someone there. I think he needs someone a bit strong. I think in moments, again, it's easy for me to say, but even when we go back to whatever year it was, we lost out to Spurs for the top four. And ironically, we lost at Newcastle away. Moments like that, when you're in January, can the the sporting director put their foot down and say, listen, we need to do this, we need to do that, we need to do X, we need to do Y? I'm not sure, man. But keep your thoughts coming. Big up DJ. Oh, why is this not coming up? Sorry, Neil. I know you commented it. Big up yourself, large up yourself, but your comments, none of the comments are coming up, man. What's going on, StreamYard? Bit annoying. But Neil, you said, big up DG, good to see you on TalkSport. Appreciate that. And it couldn't have been done without you lot. You lot have been getting them out there, man. So yeah, appreciate that. I don't really give, we know what he's trying to say about sporting director. I hear that in a circle. And again, it's just down to us to really and truly care about what's happening on the football field. But I think we do have to care, because indirectly they're going to, you're going to need that in place. You need people to just allow Mikel Arteta to do his coaching, if I'm honest, and everyone else to just do their job. If you don't match the light, you think Timo Werner has more techers than Maradona, make sure you're doing that. Report saying Edu and Cole wasn't keen for Havertz and Rice, but Arteta pushed on it. There you have it. There you have it. That tells you who's got the power. And to be fair, them two signings have worked out. That's what I mean by we can criticize Edu, same way we can criticize Mikel Arteta. But if you're voicing your opinion and you say, I don't want to do that, and the people that have more of a voice, or the people who agree more with Mikel Arteta are siding with him, really and truly, what could you do? What can you really do, if I'm honest? Hey, DJ, I'm a bit disappointed, but I hope the next man will be better. Perhaps get the Brighton guy. I hear that. And I'm not saying you, yeah, but I think a lot of fans, we all want to find these sporting directors that find these hidden gems, all these players that Brighton get, and they have them for a year, and then we all want them. If we get them, people are going to be like, who are these players? What is going on? Because you got to remember, half of these guys at Brighton, it's not like they signed for Brighton straight. Some of them did, but it's not like they signed for Brighton straight away and was just mashing up the Prem. A couple of them went on. You look at Matoma, maybe even Caicedo. It was a gradual purpose, but I would like that, man. I would like someone that I would like someone like Ralph Rangnick. I'll be real, man. Him, even the Aston Villa guy with what he's doing right now. Who else is there? I wonder if Mislintat skibbled on the job again, man. Edu gives the players, and Arteta has to choose the better of the options. And let's be honest, Edu rarely makes Arteta choosing job easy. I hear you, but how do we know? How do we know that? Like, how do we honestly know that? And do we really think? I hear you with that, and you are right in the sense of they did tell us. You get a bunch of targets. Arteta kind of has to pick through it. But when you're looking at, and again, it worked out, where you're looking at Ramsdale versus David Raya, which at the time nobody was sitting. Again, this is why Arteta is in the job, because it's his job to do things that other people couldn't see, right? But at the time, Ramsdale, PFA, talking about pushing in for England, many fans, and probably those in the boardroom, would have sat there and probably said, do you need a goalie? Arteta, push for it. Go and get me David Raya. Some people would have said, again, I'm happy for Calafiori being devil's advocate. Do you need another left back? You went and got that, really and truly. I don't think you could absolve. You can't praise Mikel Arteta when everything's going right and not ask questions, because at the end of the day, I don't think Edu sat there and said sign Kai Havertz, and definitely not for 65 million. Arteta pushed that. You really think you had Kai Havertz's name and a bunch of others? Really? Arteta will be joining him at the end of the season. Hopefully we can turn our season around, man. We're busting out Mustafi and Scalacci. Yes, we can say he worked wonders. He did all of them. Scalacci? Mikel Arteta? Fair enough. I truly believe the players we have are not title challengers, had it not been for Arteta. I don't think you're wrong, because good and bad, everything's a reflection of the team, but we can't act like it's Mighty Ducks, like he's taking a bunch of nobodies, bro. Like, you've got players that have achieved stuff or held in high regards, and a lot of them have been developed, but I wouldn't go as far as to say miracle. I think Mikel Arteta, a miracle's winning serious trophies. I think you've put a heartbeat back in the club. I think you've made us competitive again. I think you've, maybe not so much now, but I think, we actually take pride in watching the team. Maybe not so much this season, but, you're seeing the team kind of evolve. We've got good defensively, scoring goals, seeing young players. Really though, I think we're being a bit disingenuous here. You went and bought David Raya. You had Aaron Ramsdale, which was a miracle. Benjamin White cost 50 million off the back of one Premier League season. Gabriel, cool. Everyone was rating his thing at France, and Arteta refined that. Saliba was brought in under a previous regime, but he was still heralded as a talented player. Forgive me if I'm wrong. Way before Saliba even kicked a ball for Arsenal Football Club, everybody saw that slide tackle against Kylian Mbappe. Fair enough, Thomas Partey. Let's not act like he's a nobody. Martin Odegaard. I praise Mikel Arteta for that one, but let's not act like he was some idiot. He was at Real Madrid and whatnot. Fair enough, it didn't work. So I'm not saying you're wrong, but being devil's advocate, because I actually side with you. Are we doing a bit too much? And if we're praising Mikel Arteta for how he's assembled the squad, a bit like what you're saying here, if only a couple of these guys are title contenders or title winners, the manager's got to take blame as well, because you've assembled it. I get you, but you don't all see. But don't you all see that just get another manager just doesn't fix it? That's trying one hit wonder. It's the cop out way. G. We need to go to the harder route. I mean, I'm not sacking Mikel Arteta today. I don't back Mikel Arteta religiously. I back you in the sense of I like what you're doing. I think there's more pros than cons. I've talked about all the other things you're doing, but now it's about getting over the line. And I think the more that we flirt with success and don't necessarily get over the line, I have no doubt that you're going to win titles and do all of these things, whether they're at Arsenal, which and really and truly all I care about is another thing. And you're not wrong. You can't just have this thing of sacking managers. You know, Man United have sacked another one. I think Amarim will be great. They're not necessarily going to be back where they would. So yes, on one hand, you do need stability. But on the other hand, you can't really just say, and I'm not saying to sack Arteta, just entertaining you lot's chat. You can't really say keep a man just because like sacking someone, you're going to have to start again and all of this stuff. In life, you try things, it doesn't work, you try again. So you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. Realistically, Arteta isn't going anywhere. You know, he signed a new deal. Unless there's a serious regression, I think the club would like to win the league. I think if we finish anything from second, third, there is a respectable run in the Champions League. Potentially, if you bring a League Cup or an FA Cup, I think that will be enough for the club. Now, I do think Mikel Arteta and the players want to win stuff, and again, I've never been in Arteta's shoes, but just as a fan, I think you're doing a lot of good things, but I think you and the boys are making it harder for themselves, if I'm honest with you. Give us Ralph Rangnick and we'll go to another level, provided they listen to the brother, you know, because you look at Manchester United when they had Ralph Rangnick and a bunch of other scouts, yeah, scouting players wasn't the issue for Man United. You know, you look at half of these guys that are other clubs, some are our very own club, and I don't know why I always remember it, but John Duran at Aston Villa, the scouts were saying, yo, sign these guys. And, you know, a scout can't bring, unless you're some high-ranking technical director, I can tell you this player is great, sign it. And this happens at grassroots level, you know. This happens at grassroots level. On behalf of someone that was a scout at a certain championship club, people, I found a certain 9-year-old. I promise you, I found a certain 9-year-old. He's actually at a top. I still talk to his parents. He's actually at a top. He's not at Arsenal, but he's at one of the top 4 clubs or historical top 4 to top 6 teams. When I found this guy, I told the guy, you know, that works for this club, this guy's lit. He's cold. He's cold. He said, all right, let me come and check him out. He's come and looked for himself. He's agreed. He's cold. He's like, I promise you, this guy is cold. Like, the best way to describe him, like, he reminded me of Messi. Like, he was short, left-footed, used his right. He was tiny and like he's one of them where he's 8-9 years of age, but he's playing in higher levels again because you know he's playing because he's too good for that level. He's brushing past people that are stronger than him and all of this. But long story short, singing the man's praises, the academy, you know, what do you even call them roles? Like the head of recruitment at an academy, he's not hearing it. He's not hearing it. Like, man, I'm telling him he's great. He's not trying to get him signed or getting him for trials. So he's kind of going down the street. And now you go up the levels. That therefore happens at football clubs. You think half of these football clubs haven't been, or scouts or people have been saying, get this guy, but it falls on deaf ears. It's like in any walk of life with you lot's jobs. It's like if you tell your manager, let's do this instead of Y so we can get X result, and they're not listening to you because they've got their own sort of advice, how far can you really go? Really, they need to sack Arteta because it's all Wenger again. I mean, Wenger picked up some trophies, man. Arsenal's regression is alarming before City and Liverpool, with City aging players, same with Salah and Van Dijk, but with a young Arsenal team, it's like worrying. I just think we're shooting ourselves in the foot. Generally, I wouldn't, because you said they're young, it is worrying as a fan, but naturally when you're young, there's going to be volatility and mistakes, which obviously, as you said, City and Liverpool have the experience. But this is my thing, is that the collective is about winning a trophy, and I think we're kind of messing around. I think I said it before. I think one of my biggest fears would be, you know, Liverpool get their act together, which they're doing. Chelsea get their act together. United get their act together. Arsenal still keep improving all of that. But now everybody's in the fight. It feels like in the last 2 years, and again, I say this because we've been fighting City, it feels like we've had this sweet spot to really accomplish something of significance, specifically being the Premier League trophy. And the thing that hurts me and the thing that gives me the most optimism just as an Arsenal fan is because, yes, City monsters, Pep monsters, they've robots, like they've revolutionized the game, they're going down in history, all of that crap. The last 2 years, I genuinely think it's got nothing to do with, well, it does, because City pipped us to the title and we know what it is. I think we haven't won the Premier League because of us and the variables that we can control. I don't think we maximized and controlled everything, and I think we had some games where we slipped up and things of that ilk, and I think there's more of an inquest internally before I can look over the road like, no, that's why City did this and that. We missed out by 2 points. And there's several games last season. We all know you can't win them all. But there's several games last season we shot ourselves in the foot. The two against Fulham come to mind. Aston Villa ×2, mainly. Even the one at the Emirates is going to be the one that's remembered. But for me personally, it'd probably be the one at their place. Ironically, Newcastle away. For me, I would say Spurs in the North London derby at the Emirates, where we took the lead twice, didn't do what needed to be done. You could probably say it took us an hour to turn up against Chelsea at their place. And we've kind of had some elements of that this season. Yeah, there's been red cards and everything, and I'm not expecting us to be perfect and whatnot, but I do think we've shot ourselves in. We're still shooting ourselves in the foot, man. It worries me Arteta keeps getting more power despite not being anything tangible. Competing is not enough to stay at the top. Eventually, top players will leave. We need some titles fast. One Michelin tat, he was mid. Ended up with guys like Collagen at Socrates. Arteta therefore has a finger in this mess. I do agree. It can't be absolved, man. You can't be absolved. I'm shocked. I'm shocked. I'm not shocked that Edu necessarily left, and it's not I'm not one of them that is doom and gloom and all of that. And I understand, but I think it's a bit unfair that there's some fans rejoicing that Edu left, because I do think one thing that I have to say with Edu is, as I said earlier, you could look on we can watch a football match and see stuff to criticize the players of Arteta. You can't really, unless you're on the ground at London Coley, seeing everything Edu's doing, you can't really have that. Edu will have more time to run up the barbecues. As I'd say, the most disappointing thing for me, Edu never brought no crazy Brazilians that you brought Marquinhos and that you never brought no sick unknown Brazilian guys or anything of that ilk. And I praise again, Edu, you sorted out some contracts. On one hand, even if you don't believe in the players, if Arteta is telling you to do X, Y, Z, you did that. I think last season was a step in the right direction in terms of outgoings. You know, the year before last, as I said, Balogun, Smith Rowe, Eddie Nketiah, I think they were good. I did think you brought in some good additions, but beyond that, it's like we do 5 good things and 5 shaky things. It's like we step forward 10 steps, then step back 10 steps, then step forward 10 steps, then step back 10 steps. So is it really progression or regression, or are we just essentially in the same spot, which I'm not saying stagnating, but slightly stagnating? Shout out yourself, KD. 5 years, 788 million. Man, this can't stand. His work experience is done. We need major honors now. The signings have been shaky. We are playing worse ball now, and everything is on the down. They man have to change it. The 28 games, man, they're gonna have to fix it up. I wish Eddie all the best, but I've been saying he's fumbling for 3+ seasons now. Our transfer business is one of the massive reasons we've been held back. I think this works for all parties. I hear that, but I need to see the succession, man. Has Edu got a better offer? I assume so. Maybe, I assume. I don't know, and maybe there's family reasons, but I assume so. Difficult to judge why. We see what the club and Arteta choose to say about it. Edu has done well, but Brazilian recruitment has been lacking recently. Big part of why he was brought in. Not really found them unknown brothers like that, if I'm honest. DG, I recommend Mohotel as a replacement. Underrated. Nope, because I remember Statman Baines and all them United content creators, you lot were saying he's a fraud and all of that, people. So you're going to have to wake up a bit earlier than that to catch me, man. You're not throwing us under a bus. But yeah, if we start getting into, what kind of matters, people. Edu joined us in 2019, right? Or am I making this up? Because I was trying to rustle together things quickly for us, people, and just kind of look at the signings. Now, he joined us 2019, right? When did Partey join us? Because I might be wrong. He must have joined us around then. And we look at the departures. Fair enough at the time. Emi Martinez was good money. I still maintain we should have kept him. And you've seen his trajectory, really and truly. Guendouzi was no part of the first team. Mavropanos needed to cut. And all of them things needed to happen. Saliba at the time went on loan. Joe Willock, eventually we made decent money. We were really just clearing out the books, really. And on one hand, I wasn't a fan of ripping up deals and all of that. But on the other hand, I still think you could have got money off some of these players. But on the other hand, I hear it. We just want to deal with things, innit? Some of these signings, for me, it's fair to say Odegaard in hindsight's worked out. Gabriel's worked out. Thomas Partey, if he doesn't have that 45 million release clause out in his Atletico contract, we don't get him. If you don't remember that whole summer, we was pussyfooting around and we had to just bite the bullet and activate his release clause. Fair enough. Pablo Mari was crap. Signings go wrong. And that's one thing that's annoyed me about Mikel Arteta and Edu. These kind of times we're signing stopgaps that sometimes when you spend cheap, you get competent players. But I genuinely believe sometimes you spend cheap and you get what you pay for, if that makes sense, right? Runnison was crap. Don't know who announced that, between Mikel Arteta signing off on that, between the coaching and goalkeeping staff looking at that and saying, yeah, this is the guy, between Edu actually, wasting his mobile data to go and get that deal done. Dud. Cedric stopgap didn't bang. William did not bang. Matt Ryan, cool, we got him on loan. He was all right. Iliev cut. Ainsley and these guys were a bit of a myth, and we made decent money on Joe Willock. Eventually, people, when we sold Joe Willock, again, the vast majority of these players, they were kind of damaged goods. Their times was kind of done. Obviously, we know what happened with Aubameyang. A lot of these players weren't really rated under Arteta. Ben White's fair to say that worked. Gamble at the time, 50 million off the back of one Premier League season. That's cool. Fair to say Odegaard being our captain worked out. Ramsdale, your demise was sad, but it worked out. Tomiyasu, the only criticism we've got is injuries. Again, to be fair, you can't like anyone that says, any manager that would like, if Sir Alex Ferguson, Jose Mourinho, Arsene Wenger, if they said every signing they've made worked out, you're a liar. It's like an investment banker telling you they've never lost money. So signings go wrong, but yeah, man, Lokonga didn't bang. Tavares, horrible. Austin Trusty, we made some quick money. We're here for that. That's cool. Then we go above that. I think Gabriel Jesus worked up until a point. Injuries led to his demise. I would say Zinchenko worked to a point, led to our demise. Kivior, the jury's still out, but decent squad player. I think Jorginho's done okay. Trossard's done his thing. Fabio Vieira is an L, like a massive L. There's no way to shape it. Got all the talent, has not worked out. Have to hold that one. Marquinhos to go in Brazil where you see all these talented players, even Ostalvio that Chelsea went and bought, and rock up with Marquinhos. That should be a sackable offense in itself, people. So yeah, it didn't really bang. It didn't really bang. To be fair, beyond that point, Xhaka would have loved him to stay, to be fair with you, because he got some heart in that. But yeah, did okay with outgoings. The signings start to become a bit more difference makery, if that makes sense. Fair enough. Declan Rice, I'm not a problem with that. David Raya did his thing. Timber's doing his thing. Kai Havertz, it's fair to say the jury's still out, but I don't think even Kai Havertz's harshest of critic is necessarily going to get at Kai Havertz. It's more, you've put him in a role where you're not necessarily going to get harsh, but the Haaland numbers, the 20 goals and all of those kind of things. So I can't really blame Havertz. I think that signing's worked out, but I think whether that's been the difference maker, the talisman, yada, 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 is another thing. Raheem Sterling, Neto, we've gone over that. We scrambled around on deadline day. David Raya's move became permanent. Fan of Mikel Merino, if I'm honest with you, but at the same time, I think we're lacking a certain sort of specialist in midfield, more the Santi and Cess kind of ilk, whether we can find that. Calafiori, I'm a fan of yours. Didn't want Smith Rowe to go, but at the end of the day, Fulham, that was a record signing for them. Eddie and Nketiah, a lot of people had a lot to say when the Marseille thing didn't happen, worked out. Ramsdale even said he didn't expect to depart Arsenal on a permanent. Fair enough. Not really a fan of making less money on Ramsdale, purely because, there's obviously factors as to why, but for me, it's a bit lazy. But regardless of what we said about Aaron Ramsdale in his last year or so, right, is he, and I'm just going to say it again, is he a better keeper when he walked into Arsenal than when he left? He is, isn't it? So how are you making less? But anyways, that was looking like an elephant in the room not being addressed. Cool, you did your thing. Fabio Vieira ain't worked out where we're at. El Nene needed to cut, Bearman cut. Reece Nelson is still kind of here, existing. Technically, he's on the book. So it is what it is in that regards, people. We'll look at that. What's that? Barcelona are monitoring Rafael's situation at AC Milan in case the winger becomes available. He has fallen out of favour with Paulo Fonseca this season. He's been linked with Arsenal. I'm having Rafael, but I think he's one that's overrated, if I'm honest with you. I think he's one that people that do not watch AC Milan week in, week out. Talented player, very hot and cold, very frustrating, but yeah, I wouldn't be against it if Arteta can work something out. Let's see exactly. Let's get into this Edu stuff. Apparently, Edu is reportedly set to remain in the Premier League despite deciding to stand down as sporting director at Arsenal. Bearing in mind, I don't think officially on Arsenal.com at this moment, we'll check it, they've said anything. Edu returned to the North London outfit in July 2019 when he was hired as the club's first technical director. He was later promoted to sporting director. To be fair, whatever we say about what Arsenal could do, I think everyone can agree we've got different problems than when Edu and Mikel Arteta really started to do this. Now it's about, cool, we've got a foundation. Are you two, and more so Mikel Arteta, you lot the guys, Premier League, Champions League, real development. From when you lot walked in to now, you can leave with your head held high, and indirectly, Edu, that's you as well. But yeah, it's now getting over the line, really, getting into that promised land. You lot have got us to that point, to that junction, being able to cross the road. I don't know if you, Mikel Arteta, even some of the players, if everybody can come on that journey, people. Edu is widely credited with doing an excellent job and playing a crucial role in Arsenal's rebuild under Mikel Arteta. To be fair, it does seem like the world of football rate him, if I'm honest. However, as revealed by the Mail Sport on Monday morning, the 46-year-old Brazilian has decided to move on following talks with the club's hierarchy. It's since been reported by The Independent that Edu is now poised to link up with Nottingham Forest owner Evangelos Marinkis, forgive me, I tried, people, no disrespect, and his network of clubs. Fair enough. If if you're getting, you've done your thing with the Brazilian FA, you've done, you've returned to Arsenal and done the thing. If this guy's asking you to be in a role where you're probably going to get more money, more authority, a higher ranking position, and operate with a network of clubs, fair enough. Now, I know it's not the same, but that's kind of screams to me what you're kind of hearing Jurgen Klopp's gone off and done now at this moment in time, people. We did hear this in the summer. It's clear to see that there was some sort of, what would be the word, people? Some substance to it. Eddie is said to have held positive talks with the Marinkis group, which includes Greek club Olympiacos and Portuguese side Real Ave, as well as Forest. Sadly, Forest moved ahead of Arsenal in the Premier League table. We won't get onto that. We know we're currently set fifth, people, a point behind Nottingham Forest. Ironically, we all know Edu as a player won a bunch of stuff. One thing I would say, Edu, you was an invincible in that, but you weren't the guy playing week in, week out. You was a squad player. So that's one thing that's kind of annoyed me. I know you lot know we need a squad, especially in the modern day, more so than when you lot were playing. Look at all the internationals and all the cups, people, right? But I don't think we've ever addressed that. And I would say, and I've probably been saying it for a while now, considering Mikel Arteta towards your latter ages, really, and Edu, you were central midfielders. What's the one role for you lot, people? Yeah, you can have question marks up front. You can have question marks out wide. Maybe in line with the injuries, you could talk about needing another defender, probably need some goalies. But for me, I think the one area, and I'd love to know you lot, that there's a lot of uncertainty, central midfield. Uncertainty around, bringing it, take nothing away from Declan Rice and Mikel Moreno. I think they're all right. But how we've assembled what we're doing in midfield at this moment in time ain't making sense. Obviously, you've got Thomas Partey and Jorginho. Contracts are running out. The way Partey's playing adds fuel to the fire, despite the fact that it clearly tried to move them on the last 2 years. What's going to happen there? And for me, I would like, and again, I know it's not FIFA, but I would like a sporting director to come in and really surprise me. Like, wow, I can't believe we sold him for X amount, or I can't believe we bought them for X amount, because the next man that walks in, Jorginho, you can make a case for these players, for whether it's contract injuries, falling down the pecking order, whatever have you, people. Jorginho, Partey, Kivior, Gabriel Jesus, Zinchenko. It kills me to say this one, but to be fair, Tomiyasu, if I didn't say that twice. Obviously, Raheem Sterling and Neto are going to leave, so there's something there. And bearing in mind, anyone can want to leave at any given time. Forgot about him as well. We all know his days are numbered, Kieran Tierney. And what could this mean, depending on when Edu leaves? What could this actually mean for January? Now, we know we've done business in January, not expecting any fireworks, but what could this mean for anything in terms of outgoings and incomings in January? I guess we're gonna have to see. The Gunners have finished second in the Premier League in each of the last two. Yeah, we don't need to read that. So yeah, man, that's about it. It's not really finding anything conclusive. Now, courtesy of Remove Paywall, the Daily Mail had another article where maybe they went a bit more in depth, or potentially in depth, around Edu. So let's see what happened there. If Mikel Arteta has driven Arsenal's steering revolution, then Edu Gaspar has provided the fuel. The famous snap of Edu with a pair of tongs in hand, tongs in hand, standing over a barbecue grill with a sizable cigar perched on his lips, symbolic of the pair's impact at the Emirates. Arsenal are cooking under Arteta and Edu. Yeah, we were cooking right now. It's like someone switched off the oven still, if I'm honest with you. But anyways, so with that in mind, elite glazing from the Daily Mail, mind games, trying to make sure they come for the club in it. So with that in mind, news of the Brazilian sporting director's Emirates exit, exclusively revealed by the Mail Sport on Monday morning, will arrive as a hammer blow. It will raise uncertainty. Edu's influence in reviving a club that was aligned in truth way before Arsene Wenger's departure in 2018 is clear and well documented. Scrolling all the way down. Yeah, you wanted Arteta to come in. We brought in a bunch of players. We all know that. A squad rich with expensive underachievers has been refreshed with hungry footballers who have propelled the club out of their malaise. To be fair, we could still be defined as expensive underachievers through different reasons, but we all know Mesut Ozil and Aubameyang left. We know we've brought in Odegaard and Declan Rice, who are now linchpins. We all know Edu actually, initially was technical director, and there was a bit of a change role. What is going on? Tell us specifically why my man wants to leave. Apparently, sources close to the situation claim that to a degree, there's been a dilution of Edu's powers behind the scenes. It is that Tim Lewis, owner Stan Kroenke's family lawyer, has seen his influence grow since his appointment as a non-executive director to the Arsenal board in 2020. So that tells you a bit what I'm saying. For all of Edu's criticisms, your name ain't really holding weight there, really. Or maybe they're trying to streamline things and change things. So naturally, if you don't feel you're having enough authority and things are not necessarily going the way to a degree you want, bearing in mind we talk about collaboration, and you don't feel your name or your voice is holding enough weight in any job, you're going to want to cut. Because you've got that, then you've probably got my man at Nottingham Forest saying, yo, you could be part of all of this pyramid of football. You could be doing things in Portugal and Greece. You could be helping out with Nottingham Forest. Could be doing bare things, really, really and truly. So we have to see, man. The eyes and ears of the Cronkays, Lewis's clout shouldn't be underestimated. Richard Garlick, who originally joined the club as a director of football operations in 2021, assumed more control when he was promoted to the role as chief executive officer earlier this year. The departure of Vinay Venkatesh, another one who left. There's been quite a couple departures, isn't it, at Arsenal, low key off the field. Who worked closely with Edu from the role of the CEO, would have arrived as a blow to Edu. Given his impact on revolutionizing the club's football operations, there was a sense that Edu may have been tailor-made as Vinay Venkatesam's successor, though it was a position eventually taken by Garlick, whose reputation within English football is strong. I mean, you're going to tell us anything about this Edu thing? This is very waffle at the moment. Edu has allegedly flourished and become one of the most accomplished European sporting directors. I'm sure he won an award. This is why it seems like Edu is held in high regards in the world of football. Maybe not on the streets, the eyes and ears smash the like button with our fans, but it seems like he's someone that will have offers. And you could, again, even Arteta, realistically, Arteta leaves Arsenal tomorrow. He's going to have offers, probably rock up back at City. At the start of the summer, there was, according to sources, an emerging sense Edu was getting itchy feet. That perhaps had gone stale at Arsenal, and that the role didn't necessarily provide the South American with the level of challenge he wanted. It is said that the allure of football's emerging movements towards multi-club models may also be a factor here. And I must admit, I agree with that. Again, you look at Manchester City group, you look at what Chelsea got. I do this in Football Manager, which is not the same, but I genuinely think that is where Arsenal need to go, if I'm honest with you, because that helps you with work permits. You find a talented African or Brazilian or certain countries in Europe a good player, but they might not necessarily get football at this moment in time, or they might struggle with a work permit. You can obviously park them elsewhere, but that would obviously have to come from above board. The Cronkies would have to say that's what we're doing, which I don't think they're on that. I think Arsenal is I'm not going to say the only football club, but they're only kind of football or soccer entity along with the NFL, the NBA and all of that crap. But I genuinely feel that's the realm. I think Man United need to do that as well, if I'm honest with you. And you could argue maybe they'll be for it or against it, because you've got a couple of American owners. Tim Bohe's doing it. Maybe it's something that Americans want to do or not to do. I don't know, people just providing talking points. Football is so often fueled by ego for the best of the best. Why control just one club when you can hold authority over more? Our information earlier this year was that Eddie recognized the attraction of an influential position within a multi-club umbrella. Fair enough, and we've seen there's been several departures with that. It's understood the Greek businessman was also trying to add another European side to his stable of clubs. So the Nottingham Forest guy is forward thinking, and you know what, Eddie, if he wants you to be part of that, you be a fool if you genuinely don't feel that's something right up your street and something you could do and a role you want to take, not to take it, people. And yeah, the financial jump will be mad. Apparently, they have a good relationship. The pair was spotted dining at the same table of the Gorendos Falco's charity event in London earlier this year, so he's been trapping. But these positions are attractive. Just ask Jurgen Klopp, who, ironically, what did I say? It smells like something Jurgen Klopp did, so it's mentioned that Arsenal have been faced with losing Edu before. In 2022, Edu emerged as a target for PSG, who were in search of a sporting director at the time. Edu was handed a promotion that November, news that saw his job title elevate from technical director to sporting director. The news was significant at the time, Edu becoming the first owner of that job title at Arsenal. He deserved this promotion, he deserved this power base, but just 2 years later, and here we are. News of the administrator's exit arrived as a shock to many at the club on Monday morning. Hugely popular among staff and certainly the players, Edu's departure will hit hard. The players enjoy his company. That's great, but people leave jobs all the time, people. The Independent understands Edu had harbored ambitions to become CEO at Arsenal, a position the Marincas group is willing to meet, as well as triple his current salary. Edu has been in talks with the group and could now lead their recruitment. Fair enough. More money, more exciting position. Fair enough. Apparently, he's taking the decision to stand down to do exactly that, people. So wish you the best. And yeah, he's done some good things at the club, mainly this, if I'm honest with you. Fair play. Away from stuff, but apparently the Mirror is saying Arsenal are lining up West Ham Rams Mohamed Kudus as a 90 million replacement for Leandro Trossard, who's been targeted by El Hilal. I don't think we're going to let him go in January, but Kudus is more than welcome. You look at our next 6 fixtures, we will be doing a watch along for them people. Inter Milan away on Wednesday. Over the weekend, we've got Chelsea. Ironically, Nottingham Forest, when we're back at the Emirates, which will be interesting. You've got Sporting Lisbon away, you've got West Ham away, and then you've got Manchester United with Rumour Amorim there. Apparently, John Duran has ruled out joining Aston Villa's top 4 rivals in Arsenal. Gyökeres is certain to leave Sporting next summer, with Manchester United, Manchester City, Arsenal, Chelsea, PSG, Juventus, and AC Milan all keen on signing. You'd imagine AC Milan still need a forward. Juventus will probably have to let Vlahovic go. PSG are still linked with strikers. Chelsea the same. Obviously, I don't know how keen Manchester United are on Gyökeres. I think they need a striker to help the Højlunds and Zirkzee, so there might be that. It's easy to link Arsenal with strikers, whether it's Isaac, Sesko, whatever have you in it, we need one. So pinch of salt, people. So yeah, we've kind of gone over the Edu stuff. Again, Rafael allegedly is leading towards a January exit. Arsenal and Chelsea are on alert. We're not going to spend whatever they're asking for in January on him, people. Yeah, I've tried to cover everything with Edu. This article said some people that could take the role. Ralph Rangnick, I wouldn't be against that. Thiago Pinto, he's held in high regards for his work at Roma. Not really too knowledgeable on that. We were linked with Zorc of Dortmund before, could do that. And I'm sure there's a bunch of others, people. I've heard whispers, insider drops Arsenal transfer bombshell about Premier League star. Who is this? A former scout. He'd be an asset at any club in Europe. I've heard whispers speaking about potential move to Arsenal. That wouldn't shock me. And I mean, he gave a great audition. He scored a header. Arteta, that seems to be right up your street. There are a few of the top clubs who've been keeping an eye on this situation. We all know where Isaac's concerned. A bunch of it is contracts. Rumors, really, so I have to see. Saliba reveals what Arsenal need to do to get their confidence back, win games, man. The man himself said, next week we have 2 big games to come back with a win. I think we'll do it if we give everything. Inter is a big game. If we win, we have the confidence back and we have to do it. We all want to play big games like this. Now, winning and losing is infectious, right? It is. Like, I can understand feeling sorry for yourself when you lose, or especially with what we've been talked about, not winning in 3, right? But I'm not saying Saliba, but I might be reaching, but this is just my thought. I think when things are going well for you in life, like in football, be happy, but don't think you're as good as the hype. When things are going bad, where there's every reason to feel sorry for ourselves, and we can't lie, there's a lot of issues. You shouldn't be not feeling sorry for yourself, but you shouldn't think you're as bad as you are in this situation. Obviously, confidence is stuff, but really and truly, if 1 or 2 games can make or break our confidence, do we really have that level-headedness to be talking about winning Premier Leagues across a 38-game calendar? And however many, if you go to an FA Cup, Champions League or League Cup final, I don't know. But I don't think Saliba is wrong on that for what it's worth, people. Newcastle have placed Mbeumo on their transfer list. Brentford have set a price of 50 million for the 25-year-old. He's someone that's still linked with Arsenal. On the topic of Saliba, PSG allegedly are still monitoring him. Now, we've seen that. Obviously, the more we don't win trophies, the bigger the question mark is. I'm looking on Arsenal.com, people, at this moment in time, for us at this moment in time, nothing in relation to Edu. You'd imagine Arteta is going to be asked. So we'll have to see, people. Is there anything on this website about transfers? No, it's just dominated by Edu Gaspar, essentially. What's this? Arsenal lineup. What are you lot lining up? Colomani, Lowit. Who's this? Mohamed Kudus. I mean, this article said we want Mohamed Kudus. We've kind of gone over that already. And I mean, I'm having Kudus. I think, well, going back, was we not actually linked with him when he was at Ajax, and we bought Timber, we tried to buy Hato, we did want Lisandro Martinez, so maybe we all know about him. Now he's obviously Premier League proven, good ball carrier. Don't want to see him get sent off like he did against Spurs, but he's got a bit of that nasty edge in him. Versatile as well. Probably going to play out wide if he signed for Arsenal, but in theory can play in midfield. So it will be good. And this article said we've been linked with a 24-year-old, where there are some rumours every now and again that he's got a release clause, people. And we'll have to see. But for all the Kudus rumours, Gyökeres, Sesko, Vlahovic rumours in the summer, none of them signed for us, people. He could cost as much as 90 million or 107 million euros. So what would you make of that? Would that be something right up your lot street, or leave it alone? But yeah, that seems to be everything. Nico Williams, Gyökeres, Gomares. Just dropped water again. Apologies. I'm having Nico Williams. I still think he wants to go Barca. Gyökeres is welcome. Gomares, you lot know me. Been gassing him. Love the guy. But it's like with Isaac, or a bit like us getting Declan Rice. You just need to put the money down, man, if I'm honest with you. Apparently, Eddie was disappointed he wasn't promoted to CEO. Let him go. I mean, naturally good. Henry with a track player. I'm not sure Henry should be sporting director. Ineos have ownership of Nice. No, probably doing that there. Yeah, they do. I don't know if it's this. Yeah, multi-club model. You are right. We need to start doing that multi-club thing. But yeah, Cronks are not that ambitious to do that for us. The Edu/Brazilian link is so dead. Even with all the hype around it, really disappointed. So much for trusting the process, eh? City would never hire Arteta as manager. Probably not. Never know, though. They wanted him. I mean, it's Arteta's problem. If you don't achieve anything at Arsenal, then I still think you're going to win stuff, but I don't really care beyond that. Edu didn't do anything major. He got a few good players, but for what was spent and the time period, it's not good enough. Wenger filled the trophy cabinet. Arteta has no credit like that. I didn't say bring in Henry as sporting director. Like, I'm sure Henry knows more about football than me, but at the same time, he was a great player, not really a good manager, even though he got to the Olympic final. Sporting director, has anyone heard anything about his competencies with that? It looked good. You know, it would look good, but nah, let's just get someone experienced. I'd prefer an unknown that's been doing this for 10 or so years. Do you think this is giving too much power to Arteta? We've seen similar with our former managers, and at least they won things. I don't think anything's going to change, really, because Arteta's influence has grown year in, year out. I think he's got a big say beyond the obvious on transfers. The new manager comes in, new sporting director comes in. I think it'd be more of the same. Can't work out if Edu is clashing with Arteta or if he's taking one of the offers like the Forest group he had in the summer. Naturally, there's going to be rumors of clashing and all of that jazz, but I just think Edu seeing his based on what we read, he's seeing his stuff diminish. He's been given I don't want to exaggerate, but opportunity of a lifetime, tripling man's salary, multi-club model, more authority, which seemed to be the theme of what we was reading. Any other walk of life, it makes sense to cut in it, really and truly. Edu and Arteta have had a disagreement in the summer. It's so obvious, naturally, but there's always going to be disagreement. I want that. I very much doubt there's not disagreements in some regards between Mikel Arteta and Edu, potentially Edu and or Arteta with the Cronkies, internally with the players. This is football, isn't it? As much as it's a we always talk about collaboration. I think people assume that everybody thinks the same way. Just because we signed Kai Havertz, don't mean everyone was in agreement with that, if that makes sense. Edu been protecting his Brazilian homies. Look, Martinelli and Jesus, they are performing, yet Arteta was crying for Nico and Ivan Toney. Edu always goes for options, not for real ones. Was he really crying for Ivan Toney? I'm not too sure on that. So yeah, best of luck to Nottingham Forest, or part of their group, if that's what you're going to do. I, for one, am glad Edu is gone. We actually need a sporting director that actually signs talents and holds Arteta accountable. Amen. I personally think, when you look at the summer, I thought we brought in some good players. I think we missed the trick. Like you lot are saying, the Nico Williams, all these guys that we're talking about, right? But being devil's advocate, and I'm not saying the club shouldn't still spend, which we did. What if the Cronkies sat there and said, you know what, Edu and Mikel Arteta, I think you lot have done well. You're managing on one hand, you're managing the finances very well. You're giving the new contracts to players that actually deserve it. It feels like the hit to miss ratio with our signings generally is a lot better. But you look at the fees we've spent, how we've spent it, and also the signings that haven't worked, the Fabio Vieiras, all of these kind of guys, giving Eddie a new deal and then shutting him. What if the club said, you know what, we'll give you money, but the money you lot want, you lot need to sort out the ship a bit. And maybe that's why it took us a while to get going with signings. And then obviously, I don't know everything, but we all know the Merino deal seemed to drag. A lot of things seem to drag. Maybe it's that thing. Maybe the club said we need to get better in terms of sales, because we do. As much as I think some of these players we want sold are a bit overrated, we've seen other clubs, if it's certain other clubs, they would have flogged these players for decent money, and again, you can only really count on one hand how many real good exits there are. Like, for me, I think it was good money for Balogun. I think it was good money for Eddie Nketiah. I think a few years ago did well for Joe Willock going Newcastle. There's definitely someone else out. Have I said Smith Rowe? I think Smith Rowe. I think we got pennies for Mika Berra from Stuttgart, but at the same time, as much as I feel we could have got more, maybe even if you gave him a new deal in the season and loaned him out, they had to break their own club record. So I think we need to get better at sales. I think we need to get better at, obviously we're in that position now. One or two players generally will make the difference. I think for Edu, again, not even just Brazilian, but South America, it should be on lock. You should have that on lock. That should be your backyard. I never really saw that. The only thing I would say I'll pat Edu on the back with is obviously you've got some of the signings over the line that I rate, but I just think contracts for me, like getting Saliba done early, or they got all these guys like that hasn't been there during the Emirates era. So I would say that, man. He did very well. If you think different, you have no real business acumen. DG needs to replace. Said, I don't think I did a good job, man. Are we cooked? I don't know. Sometimes people just move on, no drama. Rodrigo from Madrid would be a great addition. We can try. You can always try in life. Whether you're able to get him is another thing. I really like Kudus, but we need to make these signings before they come to the Prem. Somewhat agree, man. I do agree because we've seen this theme in that you just know when certain players land somewhere, it's over unless you're going to pay stupid amounts of money. Look at the early 2000s. The Arsenals and these kind of clubs, or more so Man United, you're cherry picking the best of the rest. Now everyone's got money. We had to spend 100 odd million on Declan Rice. Harry Maguire, now it ain't worked out, but Harry Maguire cost 80 million. Clubs are getting money of their own. You look at a team like Brighton, of course, it's the belly of the beast. In the same way, we've got Saliba and players of that ilk. If Real Madrid come calling one day, you can't begrudge them for wanting to go, right? That's just the evolution of life. In the same way, people still want to sign for Man United, for Arsenal, for Chelsea, for Spurs. I'm capping with Spurs, but the rest of them really, right? That is just that's just naturally something. You look at Brighton now, like Brighton, probably, very cash rich. They've stayed in the Premier League a couple of years now. They've got Europe 1-2 times. Sold Benjamin White for 50 million, 100 odd for Caicedo. Cucurella cost money. McAllister, fair enough, 35 million. Not eye-watering, but they made a profit there. They're seeming to keep players. They're not under pressure to sell. They're only going to sell players when they say, you know what, Brighton, I like the platform you've given me. These men are on other stuff. So, yeah, it's interesting. Man said, DG, put your hat in the ring for DOF and sign off the next. I did, yeah, I'd be a half decent scout. I couldn't be a director of football. There's so many things wrong, and so much for trusting the process. We saw that. Trusting anything doesn't mean blindly trusting anything. You can still trust a process in general, but criticize and praise. I'm not a fan, and I'm not saying you said this or anyone saying that. Anyone that blindly follows anything and accepts anything and says everything is great, for me, that's dead. Each to their own, though. Facts, he did get contracts done recently. DG, play FM, you'd be good. You see my FM team. Someone please hire the guys from Brighton or Brentford. I want the players as cheap as hell. I'm a bit conflicted, man. Like, of course, my preference would be them unknown kind of guys or players that are down on their luck. When we signed Dennis Bergkamp, clearly a world-class player, household name, bit down on his luck in Italy. Thierry Henry, somewhat the same. We made something happen. And then we've obviously signed, Freddie Longberg from nowhere, Haleb from nowhere, and made it work. Why would you not want that? But at the same time, it's a balance thing because not really that they're there, but if you see the next Ozil, the next Alexis, the household kind of players that we have brought in on occasion, get it done. Get the guy from City, Tixa guy. He's leaving City though. You wanna leave City, and it looks like his exit might indirectly be linked with Pep. You want to leave and then join Arsenal? I'm not sure. Ainsley Maitland-Niles could have went to Wolves for 20 mil, didn't play the next season and left for free. Crazy to me. That's another L as well. Silly stuff. So nobody's got anything right. Marquinhos is the biggest crime Edu's done. Like, again, these not know more about football than me, and signings can go wrong. And I don't doubt that he looked lit. But I look at Runnison, I look at Marquinhos, bearing in mind, unless you're Stan Kroenke in theory, it's your club, you could wake up and just say, I don't need to talk to Edu or Arteta or anyone. I want to go and buy that player. I'm going to do it, yeah. We all know that's not how signings work, right? So when you look at Runnison and Marquinhos, whoever's identified them first has had their own opinions, right? And had their, offered their 2 pence. Someone else might have went and watched them and looked at their games and concluded they're also good. Then you've got coaching and analytical stuff. Then you've got people who are looking at the finances behind it. Now, I'm not getting at no one individually, but there's probably about 4, 5, 6 people, and none of you could see these guys shit. None of you. Like, what were you watching? What did you see? Sometimes, again, signings just don't work out, and I don't want to be ignorant, but I remember, like, one of my tweets that kind of got a lot of engagement when we signed Marquinhos. Someone put his highlights, and again, you can't judge players of highlights, to be fair. Someone put his highlights on Twitter, and I'm watching them, and yeah, I'm not gonna. Obviously, I'll get gas, but if he scored 1 million goals and done a madness, that's not a 90-minute game. You don't want to get excited, but you're looking, you're like, is this a Brazilian you? Is this really we're trying to sign for 3 million? Fair enough, 3 million is not in football the biggest of transfer fees, but think about it: £3 million is being put towards this guy signing. Does he look like a £3 million player? I've seen better in Hackney Marshes. But yeah, we can't keep going all over that, man. It just didn't work. But my thing with that, DJ, is man can't go Brazil and rock up with just that. Nothing else. Only Brazilian we got was Martinelli. He's not even that good. Hey, leave Martinelli alone, man. This is a Martinelli dictatorship. Let me see what Peckham's saying. Big up yourself. Should Arteta be replaced if should Arteta be replaced if Arsenal is serious about winning the league? There's a conversation to have, man. There's a conversation to have about crossing the line. Like, if you found someone that does what Arteta does and they can take us to the next level, and again, it's not an assurance, but we genuinely had conviction, and I'm talking about the people in Arsenal, that he could get that over the line, go and do that. You'd be silly. It's like, I love Bukayo Saka. Love the guy. Probably one of my favorite Arsenal footballers ever now, if I'm honest. One of them, not the... If there was someone on the market twice the ability of Bukayo Saka that played in that role, it doesn't mean Saka is getting alienated or anything. But would you really not sign someone because of that? All that matters is getting Arsenal back to where it needs to be and beyond that, because we ain't won champs and that. So naturally, there's conversations, but the man signed a new deal. Are you really... Obviously, it kind of indirectly correlates because, again, collaboration. But, you know, one's a manager, one's a technical director. But now with this Edu stuff, and when he actually does leave, when it's announced, much less who comes in and how they tie in and how we try and do things differently, are you really going to let a manager go again? I'm not sure. Especially when... I mean, you could say stability in football is an illusion, innit? But feels like whether people rate what Arsenal are doing or not, happy or not, it feels like there's a bit of stability, man. Martinelli needs to start scoring goals and then he'll be fire. It's looking mad. Uno Tavares is going to leave us next season for 7.5 mil because of the loan obligation. Watch him get sold for like 40 mil a season after. Fair enough. Yeah, I need solutions before I'd be happy ending it. There you have it. With Edu, we should be at least conversations to get talents like Estavio. Chelsea did that deal in like 2 months, which is true. I'm not criticizing your point, but we're not going to be putting down the 30, 40 million on these guys that not unproven, because everyone can see what he's doing, but unproven. And that's maybe the club's remit, which is something that, to be fair to Edu, even though I agree, we should be trying to get one of them kind of guys. What can you do? If the club sit there and say, you ain't got 30, 40 million for some 18-year-old playing in the Brazilian league, as talented as he is, you can't make it happen, can you? To be fair. I'm hoping Saliba stays at Arsenal, otherwise we need a new centre-back. Boy. Apparently Arteta is to have a direct say over who replaces Edu. I mean, you want to seek everyone's conversation and what they got to say, but me, that makes me a bit nervy, if I'm honest. Wonder if it'd be one of them Spanish brothers. That'll make me a bit nervous because, again, I'm sure Arteta asks everybody a question, but it's above you, isn't it? Surely that's the Cronkies to make that choice, or for Josh to maybe seek, to seek conversations with people that might not be working for Arsenal, but footballing men and women that have trusted opinions and can give glowing references and things of that ilk. It seems like that's an above board for him, if I'm honest. And I just hope we get it right, man, because, off the field is as important on it. Arsenal have, historically, in the last 20 odd years, lacked direction off and on the field. Manchester United are still not where they want to, but they're trying to get into that realm with all the backroom changes. City are all singing from the same hymn sheet from above all the way. You look at Liverpool, at our point, they were all aligned. I know towards the end of Klopp's reign, a lot of fans weren't happy with changes and what people weren't doing. But then you had someone like Klopp who could keep them afloat. Chelsea are bringing in some very good people, and I'm sure they'll get it together. It seems like they got some stability. So hopefully, away from the news, we still ain't seen Edu say anything officially. We haven't seen anything officially on Arsenal.com. We don't know when he's going to actually leave. We don't know what that means for January or potentially the summer. And obviously, we don't know who's coming in. So yeah, man, for me, it's a wait and see thing. And I'll be real with you. While that does indirectly affect Arsenal on the field, just get back, just focus on Chelsea and Inter Milan. I'll be absolutely honest. Just focus on them. This noise has nothing to do with anything. And in the grand scheme of things, it's not as much noise as if Arteta was leaving, or Saka was leaving, or Saliba was leaving, or the Cronkies were selling the club. So just get on with it, man. If a footballer left, yeah, we'll be doom and gloom, but things continue. Sporting director. It don't really mean that much, man. So we move. We've got no choice. I just want a guy that will get the most out of our youth. I just want to see 20 million sales in the season happening soon. We do need to get better consistently at selling, and that's something that I would say has to be a good remit of whoever comes in, because, as I said, on one hand, you can count some good sales under Edu, but I don't think we've historically been a good selling club. Whether that's because the players are not good enough, whether we've got an inability to do that, maybe because we do half-hearted things in that it seems like a player like Ainsley Maitland-Niles, you're half leaving, we get an offer, you start playing, we don't shot you, we don't sell you, you stay at the club, your stock drops, and then it's pennies. It feels like we could do something around that, if I'm completely honest, man. But I don't want to bore you lot anymore, man. As usual, appreciative to you lot for your consistent support. If you haven't smashed the like button, all that good stuff, please make sure you do. Leave a comment after, subscribe if you haven't, and you would have seen me post some videos. People, we're watching Real Madrid AC Milan tomorrow, and we're obviously going to watch Inter versus Arsenal. And any talking points, news, you know, there's videos and all that crap. So yeah, check out the description and follow me on all my other platforms. Big up you lot on Twitch and YouTube. It's appreciative to be here with you lot. Just wish Arsenal beat Newcastle, but we ride the highs and lows together. Peace.